Hey Mike, I still haven't been able to find that missing Rhino Hero card. It's been like 2 years. Are you sure I still need to work on this?
Yep.
Also, I'm worried that, since we converted the garage into a new studio, I don't think the joke sells as well anymore.
Chris, do me a favor. Stop calling me about this.
This is it. This is the last of these videos that I'm going to be doing, my 20 through 11. Because remember, the last 10 is going to be in a live combined top 10 list. So if you've watched all of these, man, I doff my hat to you. Because this has been a lot of games that I've talked about. Some ones that I really love, some that have been around for a long time, some brand new to the list. My number 20 that I'm kicking off this particular video with is one that I've had on the list for years and years now, and that's Raiders of the North Sea. This is the game that put Shem Phillips on the map for me, Garfield Games. It made me say, wow, I want to really play all of these. There are new games coming from Garfield that I'm constantly just impressed with. But this one is one of my favorites. And it continues to be. Back in 2018, it was my number 11. Back last year it was 35, and this year it's kind of gone back up to 20. It's such a simple conceit of a worker placement game. Put out a worker, pull back a different worker, and get both of those actions. It's so good. When you go raiding, you can upgrade your workers, you can get all sorts of just exciting things. I think that this is a great game still. The expansions, yeah, fantastic. But even just the base game, so fun, so smooth, and I really think that if you enjoy comparing this to like Lords of Waterdeep, replaying that, this one stands for me head and shoulders above. So that's why it's number 20 on my list, kind of moving back in the upward direction here. Fantastic art, fantastic everything. Kicked off, for me, the wider popularity of Garfield games, something I'm very grateful for, as they have made so many great games. You've seen several on the list. There's one more to come. So be mindful of that. And remember that Viking parents believed that it takes a pillage. My number 19 is a brand new game of the list. Very high, very hard for a game to get this high up on my top 100 of all time. But I have so much fun playing Distilled, my number 19. Distilled is a game about manufacturing different types of alcohol. You get a market round, and then you get a distilling phase. And from that, you play just a few rounds of the game, and it's so exciting. The game is long enough that you can age your alcohols, and they can grow a lot of flavor profile to them, and you can get big bonuses. Or you can keep pushing out drinks each round so you have a better steady flow of income. It's just really fun, really thematic, to the point where on the whiskey tile, they spell it different on either side of the tile, one with the E and one without, just because they care that much about the theme. And so Paverson Games is one of those brand new companies that is really impressing me, one that I think that you should check out. And I'm excited to see what else they come out with. They have one called Luthier coming out in the future about making classical instruments. So anyway, Distilled, such a fantastic, such a fun and immersive little game. My number 19. Cheers. My number 18 is Teotihuacan. This is a game that it seems to be a bit of a spiritual follow-up to Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar, and you can really tell that it's got some of the same things. There are tracks and pyramid building and whatnot. The pyramid building in this game is so satisfying. The act of moving your dice around this big rondelle on the outside is so cool. The game has flexibility, it's tight, it demands a lot of you, it's very procedural, and yet it's so satisfying as you can pull off really big moves. Do you line up all of your dice together so you can really activate a huge action space? Or do you have your dice individualized but leveling up because you only get to take the action at the level of the lowest dice of your group, but the more dice you have together, the bigger things you can do? It's a fun shakeup. It is just so good as you move up these tracks and get constant bonuses Do you go for set collection with masks? Do you go for building up the pyramid? There's so many good things, and particularly my favorite expansion is the small box one. That just gives you more technology and starting tiles and everything. But I'm curious to see, they have a deluxe big box coming in the future, and I'm curious about that, but I just love the base game so much of Teotihuacan, one of my all-time favorites. It premiered on my Top 100 in 2018 at number 7, dropped 1 space last year to 8, and this year it's sitting at 18. That's still impressive for a game that's been around and has been played so much. Very high up there for me. So number 18, Teotihuacan. My number 17 has been on my list the prior 2 times I've done it. There's 2 versions you could put on here. What I'm saying is my number 17 is Mombasa, because this is the one that I've had on the list in years past. The new version came out this year of Alexander Pfister's game, a reskin called Sky Mines, which has a much more appealing theme. But the reason I'm sticking with Mombasa is that the visual clarity of the iconography works better. The board is a little bit smaller, and it just overall, that's the one I still have in my collection, and I'm probably going to pull out sooner when everyone is okay with that one. I really enjoy the points of interaction in this game, and it's been high on my list. Last year it was number 6, and then in the 2018 it was number 21. So sitting at 17 is still very impressive, out of the top 10, but wow, this game has so many interesting interaction points. You have a very clever card play system, but more than just playing your own cards cleverly, you're looking at the other players at the table, gauging on the card reveal, what are they going to be doing this round? How do you prioritize your actions, and what's most important? What strategic paths will work for you? Are you going to invest in the 4 different companies? To what degree? Are you going to be using your influence to push them out onto the map, push out other companies? But because nobody owns a single company, anyone can be invested in any of them. So it's a lot of points of interesting, many times positive player interaction, but also interaction in a sense that it doesn't feel mean, but it feels very crucial and very important. This is one of my favorite games where you're not just looking down at your own plans, but you're looking around the table at what everybody else is going to do, which is why this one remains so high. So my number 17, Mombasa. My number 16 is a game that feels a little bit older, wiser, kind of than it really is. This is called Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done. This is a game that's been around for several years now, but something about its design feels very classic. It uses a Mancala type mechanism. There's a few actions you have access to, and you pick up all of these pieces on that little action wedge, and then you distribute them in a circle, much like the classic Mancala does that. But depending on how many pieces you moved from that space is how strong the action you get to do. It has fun idea of moving around the map and combat in a very Euro-y game kind of a sense, building up new buildings in the regions, which will give you stronger stats. Every time that you build something, it reveals new stuff for you. I really like that mix of mechanisms and everything. I think this game has really neat production. It looks beautiful. Like I said, somehow I describe this, and I want to avoid using the phrase modern classic, perhaps, but it is something that feels very classic, refined for me. I really have fun with this one. A new expansion that came out last year really helped as well, because it was, I think, a great expansion if you are experienced with the game. Not as great for teaching, but one that easily you could just set aside. And once people have played the game once, maybe twice, you can throw that expansion in. It's so rewarding, so much fun, and lightning fast. Most games of this that I've played have been like 45 minutes, even though it feels and looks like it would be a more longer, robust game. So for all those reasons, I really love it. My number 16, Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done. At number 15, another game that I champion a lot, Las Vegas Royale. I've enjoyed Las Vegas ever since it was the basic Las Vegas. Well, I mean, I played the one that was called Vegas Dice Game that was sold in Target in an awkward cube. When this new edition Royale came out, I was so excited about it. I find this look to be very classy and elegant. It reminds me of home, Las Vegas. And while it's not as over-the-top and gaudy as some previous versions of Vegas, with that old kind of throwback 60s look to it, I really like the classy look of this one a lot. It's one of the few games that I've really upgraded with nice poker chips, because the one that come in it are bad, but I love the idea of rolling dice, assigning all the dice of one number to a spot, trying to have the majority there. It's one of the simplest dice placement or dice majority games out there. I find it to be so fun, the extra mini games from the Royale version. I know some people are take it or leave it, but I love them. I love introducing the game maybe one round without it, and then throwing them in for that extra chaos. Las Vegas Royale is one of my favorite games. Last year it was up to my number 9 spot back in 2018, it was at 33. I think that was before the Royale edition came out. This one's really shot up for me a lot. Like I said, being a person from Las Vegas, this one's a little extra special, having a great game named after my hometown. My number 14 is The Crew. I've gotten way more into trick-taking games over the last few years, and even more, I think, in the last year. And The Crew, well, a lot of the responsibility falls on that. Being able to play this game so many times, and playing it even two-player. I think the two-player mode is great. Don't listen to what Tom Vassell has to say about it. I really dig The Crew, both versions. I'm putting on whichever picture is shown here because I don't care. They're both very much the same to me. I like both of them. I like the new missions and stuff in the Mission Deep Sea one. I like the classic simplicity of the Outer Space one. Whatever the themes are, cooperative trick-taking is such a fun little niche that this falls into, and this does so many things right. I love that it's basically a good crash course on trick-taking that you can learn with people as you go through the increasing complexity of the missions. I have so much fun with this, and I look forward to playing more, and I'm going to go play more. I'm going to go play some right now, actually. Number 14, The Crew. My number 13 is Destinies. This is one of my favorite action, story-driven, adventure-y kind of games because it does so much to strip away the extra rules and the excess that tend to make these games difficult, hard to get to the table, difficult to teach, difficult to want to play and remember all the rules of. It has an integrated app that is so efficient and letting you just enjoy the story and enjoy the exploration of finding what's going on around in the village or in the mountainside or in this weird hellscape that you're going through, facing giant demons and stuff, but gives you so many great story beats, lets you learn on other people's turns about the destiny that you're trying to fulfill. One of my favorite parts, though, is the way that you level up your skill attributes. When you can roll dice, do you want to roll just your basic dice you'll always have? Do you wait until you store up a bunch of these one-time use purple dice and then save them for a really big test? Do you roll some of them at once? What do you do there? I love what's going on here. This, to me, is the action genre, the adventure, story-driven genre of games at its finest for me. That's why it's my number 13. This last year, it was 19, and it's simply gone up because of how rare and how great I think that this one is. Destiny is my number 13. At number 12, it's a bit of a family of games. This is Pandemic Legacies, or the individual standalone, the base game with any expansions folded in, or the Star Wars one, or Iberia being my favorite of the standalone games. This is an amazing cooperative series of games that I absolutely adore. Coming in at number 12 this year, 11 last year, 2018 it was number 2. We had pretty freshly played Pandemic Legacies 1 and 2 maybe at that point or something, and it was just, I was on such a high, but this is still really high up there. I love playing just even the basic Pandemic, exploring all the different ones. I did a whole video talking about all of the different standalone games, so we even got to try some of the ones we hadn't yet. They announced another Pandemic game. I'm in. I'm still interested at this point. I really like cooperating with people working to cure the diseases and everything. There's just so much good about this game. It's nearly ubiquitous at this point, but it still deserves very much praise because of how much it has done to proliferate cooperative games, how much fun it's brought to my table. I really love it. So Pandemic, all around at my number 12. And my number 11, the game that is just outside of the top 10 before we combine and do that big one there, is Golem. Golem is a game that's so impressive. It's from a few of the designers that I really enjoy, the Italian group that likes working together. And this is one that I think thematically is very cool. It's a little bit outside of the box typically, and it tries to use that theme in a way where the game is better off because of it. You have tracks, you have multiple things going across the same track, your golems and your students trying to control those golems and not let them run amok in the city. And you have a very satisfying income engine that you're building up as you're doing this marble drafting thing. It has elements of a few of their other games that I really like, and it's kind of this best hits. It's a large box, but also has some impressive componentry, a lot of symbology, right? A very difficult one to get into, but one that I have put the effort in to get over that hurdle, and I've found so much fun and so much enjoyment from continually coming back to this one. Golem was my number 18 game of last year when it first appeared on the list. Now it's up to number 11, and that's because I just keep playing it. Unlike a lot of other heavy Euro games, sometimes I love them, and I think, when am I going to pull it out and play it again? And this is one that, for me, gets played, and so it's deserved to kind of keep sliding up. At number 11, that's no joke. That's fantastic. and I'm really glad that I have this one in my collection. So, that's going to do it for this video. Next time that you see me, well, it'll be a little bit of a different experience, hopefully, unless plans have changed between recording this and then. But I think that it won't. I hope that it won't. Probably won't. I really hope that it's not, because I've recorded a lot of these ahead of time, and that would be embarrassing. I don't really get embarrassed. Anyway, thanks for coming by my continuing top 100 games of all time. This is going to wrap up 20 through 11. I'm very excited to share with you my top 10, but I hope that this one was a really great chunk of games as well, and maybe you found some that's going to be exciting and new to you. Until next time, my name is Chris Yee, and I hope that you have yourselves a fantastic day. Chris Yee's Dice Tower Top 100 Game... Nope.
The glasses.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Where you are trying to... Wow, what are you trying to do in this one? What's a cease and desist mean? Oh, nice. Mike, you haven't really responded to my other message. My number 73 is a very to make a simple little card game with simple micro macro crime city or micro macro. Whoops! I can get this done. The end is in sight. And it's boom. It boomed up. I should probably put any thought into this first. Z. No, not Z. Santa Maria is a fantastic. Oh, I spoiled. Top tenuous. The juicy, yellowest of coals and the brownest and. Warm.
Got it. Sorry. Your dumb face, I love it.